Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Left Wing. I am TJ Whitehead. Power is taken, not given. Not joined by John Cooper of Counterpoint Politics for the first time. This is my first solo venture into the show here. Going out kind of with no life vest here. I really should have brought something to talk about, but yeah, just hopping on to a little Q&A for you folks. Also live on TikTok. First time I've done this in a while too. Gone live with TikTok and YouTube at the same time. All right, Colby asked, favorite president who can hit holes in one on the White House lawn. Wow, I mean, you got to go with Donald Trump, right? Trump, he's won how many senior tournaments at his clubhouse? I don't know how you could go wrong there. I would be interested to know the golf handicap scores for all the modern presidents, or I don't know how far back. We have lots of presidents who played golf, but I'm sure we can go back at least 50 years, maybe even 100. Man, I thought you were Anthony. Yeah, I get Anthony Anderson a lot. That's a pretty common one. There's a few, but no relation. Expected to be banned on TikTok. Why? Because they can't handle hard talk. Listen. It is a big risk going live on TikTok. Like, TikTok has banned me from lives more times than I can count. It is pretty brutal out there. I've only gone live a few times lately because of how just awful it is whenever I try to do it. You might want to press your mouth. Just saying, it's funny. All right, yeah. It's kind of bad out there. Did you guys see Elon Musk is shocked and appalled about how the one big beautiful bill has a lot of pork in it, and how he's surprised by this? I think he called it an abomination, a word you don't see terribly often. Let's see. Kobe says, wait, TJ, did you not see they actually made some golf spots on the lawn? No, I haven't heard about that. Are you serious? That's kind of funny. Just a font to be liked again. Yeah, he's turning on his BFF. Yeah, I mean, we all knew that you guys gotta give me a leeway here. I'm all sweaty, like my shirt's all rolled up. I'm trying to keep the temperature down. And oh yeah, John's on here. He had an emergency, so I don't know. Well, what did someone say? Oh no, I didn't hear about the holes in the White House lawn. I'll have to look into that. Let's see. If Kitty Dukakis, what? Would you advocate for an irrevocable death penalty? No, the death penalty feels right to me. Like, the death penalty makes sense that if you kill someone, you have forfeited your chance to be alive. As far as I'm concerned, that seems fair. Now, that's how I feel, in my heart. But academically, if you were to ask me, do I support the death penalty? No, because of all the reasons you guys can probably name. The fact that, there's a lot of racial bias in the death penalty. Black people receive the death penalty far more often for the same crimes. And what was it, like a certain percentage of innocent people we've executed over the years that DNA has proven. So death penalty, gut feeling, I like it, but no. I can't believe it, though, because Trump is still petitioning from Starlink as part of trade negotiations. Yeah. Are you creating a pose for vigilante? I don't know what that means, Alex. I don't know what that's in reference to. Heather says, great show. Thank you so much. William Haskett says he's going to lose his company graft he organized via Doge. Yeah, the Doge thing is a joke, and I'm glad that everyone's lived to see this, that we all know that there's really nothing going on there. That what did Elon Musk promise? I think $2 trillion that he was going to cut with Doge. And then the last White House cabinet meeting I saw, he said that best case scenario, they can cut 150 billion, not 2 trillion like he had planned. And I think what happened is that Republicans and conservatives kind of get this idea that there's all this fraud in government, that if they just cut the fraud, they could get to the bottom of this. They could, expose the deep state for the monsters and the criminals and, pedophiles that they are and everything. And we could save all this money with this clearly fraudulent spending everyone's letting slide by. Then they actually get into office and find out, Actually, no, there's not a whole lot of it. There's an entire department of inspectors general. I hate that, by the way. I hate saying inspectors general. I want to say inspector general so badly. Kind of like attorneys general, sergeants major. I hate that. But anyway, you had them actually looking into this stuff and finding out, oh, this is all appropriated by Congress. This has all been reviewed. Yeah, maybe there's some fraud here and there, but nothing significant to speak of. And the best they could do is say, oh, isn't this woke? Isn't this weird? We should get rid of this. And that's not a whole lot of money. You can't really go too far. There's only so much juice you could get out of the transgenic mice story, right? And they find this out and there's nothing to cut and they look stupid and they get embarrassed and then they try to pivot to something else. And John and I were arguing about this on whether Elon actually believed this. Like, did he really think he was going to get to the bottom of this, or was he just doing his whole charlatan thing the whole time? I don't know. All right. He could have started with the DOD. 2.3 trillion has been missing for the last 7 years and hasn't passed an audit. Yeah, Denham, that's a good point. Of course, we all knew that wasn't going to happen, right? That if Elon Musk and Donald Trump were really serious about cutting spending, the Department of Defense is the first place you look. And everyone says that, well, whenever you say you want to cut not so much lately, but in the past, back when I was younger, I'd say, people would get upset if you said you wanted to cut defense spending, because then it would seem like you're attacking our brave and honorable troops. And it's like, no, the Defense Department does have I remember once my unit, we were ordering a screw, like just regular screw, for our missile launcher. And we saw the packet it came in, and the defense contractor charged us $38 for that screw, or charged U.S. military $38 for that screw. There's a lot of that stuff going on. There's a lot you could look into with these defense contractors milking the U.S. government and the taxpayers and taking all this money. But Elon didn't seem interested in that. Maybe because he's a defense contractor. Who knows? Let's see. Cutting investigation of him, saving Jim a couple billion, just assuming. What do you think of Hegseth taking away ship names, Tubman, Marshall, Ginsburg, because they're supposedly DEI names? I hadn't even heard about that. I hadn't heard about that one. That is really, I've looked that one up. That is wild. TJ, you are a secret gun nut. Did you enjoy the shooting you did in the Army, and do you go to the range when you can? I am not a secret gun nut. I'm fine with firearms. I think, what did Karl Marx say? Any attempt to disarm the working class should be resisted by force if necessary. I think that it's important to have the right to bear arms. Of course, there should be regulation stuff on everything, but no, these days I don't really go to the range that much. Did I enjoy the shooting in the Army? I guess. If you guys ever did night fire, if you ever did any firing with tracer rounds, that was fun, because they look like lasers. If you guys never fired tracer rounds before, it looks like you're shooting lasers out of your weapon. And if you're training somewhere dry, like say Fort Benning in the summer, where it's 95 degrees all day long and you're shooting out in the field, the woods catch on fire. And watching the fire through night vision goggles, incredible. Recommend it for anybody. Did YouTube send you a red play button? No. This is just a friend of a friend made this for me, and YouTube should get on that. The red play button, though, they should do that. New York Times reported name issue this afternoon. No, I hadn't heard about that. I'll have to look into that. William, thank you. Let's see. Oh, a posse for vigilante. Sorry, Alex. No posse. How extreme? Ben, you're on the wrong app. You're on TikTok. Usually you're on YouTube. It's weird to see you here. Let's see. How extreme will Republicans become? I don't think Republicans have any room to become more extreme, actually. I think the Republicans are exactly, this is the final form of the Republican Party as we know it. That it's no longer stands for conservatism or business or what we expected Republicans to champion in the past. The Republicans seem to be more interested in cultural grievances, although they always have. I guess that's not new. But the devotion to one singular entity, Donald Trump, and just doing everything he says is something I've never seen before. And I don't know how it's going to look after Trump is gone. And I just don't think the Republican Party as we know it will exist. It'll be something else because it already is, but it's going to change even more. Do you see Hakeem Jeffries vow to unmask these ICE agents? Great. Love it. Love every bit of that. I always thought this. I wonder what will happen in 2028. Who knows? I don't think Trump is going to run again. I know he's doing that. Then again, I mean, who knows? I know I might seem naive to say that or whatever, but I don't think that that's going to happen. And he doesn't need to. Honestly, Trump doesn't need to run again. He can do, if he would like, he could do whatever Vladimir Putin did, right? Where Putin ran for president until he was termed out. I think he ran for prime minister or something, or the other way around. I can't remember, but Trump can still maintain his power even if he's not in office. What a treat. We have my favorite host, Kyle. That means a lot to me. Thanks so much. Especially since you only have two hosts to choose from. That's great. I kind of love that shit. He might try, Ben. You're right. Are you calling Bill Maher a liar? Did Bill Maher say that Trump would run for a third term? I just don't know how you get around that one. I don't know. AOC or Chris Murphy for president? Hey, wait, who's that? Oh, Miguel 2090. I thought that was someone else. Not that I'm not happy you're here, Miguel. I just thought you were a friend of mine from the Army. Who knows? John and I did it on the show. It wasn't my idea. It was John's. But I think it is far too early to predict who's going to run for president in 2028. I don't see the value in that. The world is going to change a lot in 6 months, let alone 4 years or 3 years. So I don't know. That is some wild stuff. He did say that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Bill Maher's lied plenty of times, so I'm cool with that. Do you think the Democratic Party needs to move far left? I don't know if moving far left is going to save the Democratic Party. I would love them to. I can't guarantee that's going to be a successful strategy. I think there's a sizable element of the left who would love that, who would appreciate it, but we can't ignore the fact that there are a lot of centrists too who aren't going to like it. Now, you could bank on the fact that they're going to vote for anyone the Democrats elect, which I think is kind of true, but I don't know. I really can't say that's going to be a successful strategy. I mean, that's what we've tried, and they're not going to. Also, the Democratic Party, as we know it, can't move far left because of the fact that they are backed by rich and powerful donors who don't want the party to move left. The only shot the Democratic Party has of moving left is if we somehow found a way to do a Tea Party style takeover that the Republicans had. And it's kind of like I always say that the Tea Party weren't the majority, but they acted like it. They really believed it. And they did something that leftists don't do, which is show up at primaries. That, like, step one, show up during primaries. I mean, we complain all the time that our candidates aren't left-wing enough, but if they ran as a centrist during the primary and they won, they're going to campaign as a centrist in the general. So, I don't know. I disagree. I think isolationism won't last in the Republican Party. I think Trump is one of a kind. And the brain of the party is still Shapiro, Wall Street Journal editorial page, traditional conservative, in my humble opinion. I don't think that's correct, Mark. I mean, we'll see. That's not where the energy of the party is. Now, you might be right because after Trump is gone, hey, Wolfie. After Trump is gone, there will be a power vacuum. And the power vacuum could very well be filled by a Ben Shapiro type. But Ben Shapiro and Wall Street Journal style Republicanism or conservatism doesn't get these guys hard anymore. That's not what's going to get them out to the polls, which is why the Republicans always lost when Trump didn't run. Miscalculation on my part. I thought that it was simply because conservatism was dying, and it is, but Trumpism is pretty alive and well. So you might be right, but I don't think the Republican Party can survive as a 1997 style Republican Party. I just don't think it can. Hunter Biden, Bill Burr, 2028. Yeah, Hunter Biden, the Dark Prince. He's our only hope. Do I drink? Well, Ben, I know you're too young to drink, so none of my business. But the answer is no. Well, I think I had a drink last week for a special occasion. First drink I've had in I can't remember how long. So the answer is generally no, I don't drink. So the country is not ready for universal health care? Apparently not. Apparently not. I think we will have it one day. I mean, I just think it's the easiest political no-brainer out there, an economic no-brainer. It'll happen, but people don't want it badly enough. Joe Biden makes a comeback in 2028. Why is it so hard to grassroots a third party? Primarily because of the way we have first past the post elections, that there's as long as we have elections where 50% plus one wins, it's two parties are going to be the way to go. That's just how it is. And also one of the only ways we could get vibrant third parties across the country is if we had ranked choice voting. But in order to get ranked choice voting, we would need our current representatives, our current people in office to approve it. And I don't know about you, but I don't see any incentive they have to approve ranked choice voting, right? I mean, if you were already in power, why would you make it easier for you to be out of power? There's nothing in it for you. So, yeah, it's going to be tough with our current setup. It's going to be honestly almost impossible for third parties to be vibrant and taken seriously in major elections, at least in most cases. Like some off cases here and there, but for the most part, no. I mean, we have third parties, we always have, but our system has always been dominated by two. It was the Federalists, the Anti-Federalists, the Whigs, the Freemasons, the Free Soil Party. You've only had a few major. There's always been two major parties. People like to say that Lincoln was the first third party person elected president, which is not really true. The Republicans were already the second party by the time Lincoln won. The Whigs had already fallen out. My gray cat is needy too. What's up with the gray cats, Ben? What's up with the gray cats? Why are they so damn needy? Your gray cat is named Grace, right? Could we function in a 3 or 4 party system? We could, but we're not going to get it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how hard are we cooked? Brother, we are charred on the outside, raw on the inside. It is bad. It is pretty bad. Wait, it's a boy named Grace? How did that happen? I had a cat once named Cosmo. We thought it was a boy, but it turned out she was a girl. Did have to change the name. Works either way. What is the future of the Democratic Party in the current timeline? The future ain't bright. You keep your sunglasses at home. A teenager named him, to be honest. Okay. The Democratic Party would be saved by advocating for economic populism. They would lose a lot of money. True. There was a socialist who won the Democratic nomination in the New York race. A conservative Democrat ran as an independent, and the party dropped their nominee. I remember that. It was a lady, right? I can't remember her name. I think I know what you're talking about, Kyle. If Trump were smart, he could find the companies hiring illegals into bankruptcy and take control of them. That would kind of go against his class, right? That's not. He wouldn't want to lose, because then he might lose support from. Then again, he doesn't have to run again. So yeah, I mean, he screwed people over in the past. Why not? Especially near the border, so he can own the borderland for a golden dome. Yeah, the pendulum swings to the doom of the republic. Yeah, listen. I'm not giving up, and neither are you guys. That's why you're here. I got that. I'm not giving up, but I can't say I'm confident that we're going to walk away with a victory here. Like it might get a lot. In fact, this is going to get a lot worse before it gets better, unfortunately. What about the alternative timeline? Just kidding. If only we could. There will be a sweep during the midterms. You don't think? I mean, there could be. Trump's not running. That's like, I hate to say it, but the American people, a sizable percentage of them, almost the majority, as we found out a few months ago, like Donald Trump. And Trump isn't going to be able to drive them to the polls during the midterms. I don't know about a sweep, but with the economy contracting and with Trump not running and his cult going to be, grinding to a halt, and just the unpopularity that's going to happen because of being in office, I think that I would expect the Democrats to win. Maybe not a sweep of both houses, but we'll see. I'm running as an independent. Oh, Tara's running as an independent in the congressional midterms, and it's a struggle to gain traction. Yeah. Oh, Ben, I was saying that the society and country, look upon my works, ye mighty, in despair. Like the whole political environment is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. You can change a pet's name. Motto way. That's great, Zeke. Midway. Yeah, you can. Turns out there's no rules against this. They don't have birth certificates or anything. You just go to the doctor's office and say, yep, change the name. Hippo versus 3 gorillas. Who you got? Hippo all day long. Hippo all day long, man. Like, come on. You would need. I don't know how this fight would go down. Actually, I mean, if it's on water, it's over, right? You could have a dozen gorillas. It's not going to matter. The hippo's going to win. On land, the gorillas would have a better chance. They'd have a fighting shot at it. But I still think you need 25, 30 gorillas to take down a hippo. Hippos are massive, man. You know what hippo killed the pharaoh? Did you guys know that? You guys can check me on this. I think it was Pharaoh Tutmosis. He was killed in the Nile River by a hippo. And hippos kill more people in the continent of Africa than any other animal. Not lions, hyenas, giraffes, jackals. I don't know. FM and BM gorillas. I don't know what that means, Mark. I have no idea. FM and BM. I feel like I should know that, but I don't. Yeah, it's just how empires roll, I guess. Yeah, we had a hell of a run as a global empire. TJ, what is your prediction on Russia versus Ukraine? Is the United States walking away? Will Putin take Kiev? Will Europe defend Ukraine? What's your prediction? I think Russia's going to lose. Because they have been. It's been a 2 seed versus a 9 seed, and the 9 seed's winning. And if Trump was just going to walk away from Ukraine, he would have already done it. I don't see why he would now out of nowhere. I mean, he's hostile toward Ukraine more than Biden would have been. I do agree that I think Europe should play a bigger role in this. I honestly, we had a whole discussion about this on the show once on how I never understood the rationale for why we just don't get involved directly against Russia. Not that I'm all, yeah, let's go to war. But it doesn't make the logic never made sense to me that we have an agreement to defend Ukraine or to help them in case the Russians attack them. We've had it since the late 90s or early 90s, I think. And the Russians attack. So we give Ukraine billions of dollars worth of equipment to fight the Russians. But we can't fight the Russians because that would cause World War III. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Like, if I'm in a fight with someone and you hand them a baseball bat and they start wailing away, I'm supposed to say, oh, well, I can't attack you now because you didn't actually do it. You just supplied weapons. No, it's the same thing. There is no functional difference between giving someone weapons to attack you or to attack someone and actually attacking someone. I've never understood why that's the case. Like, I don't understand. Oh, boy. I think some Republicans will hide behind the Dems to impeach him. That's never going to happen, Denim. That's never going to happen. Trump isn't going anywhere. I hate it. I've gone on the record multiple times. I think impeachment is a useless, at least for the president, a useless political tool. The Republicans will never do that. And here's why. Like, even if Trump sinks in popularity, let's say that's the worst case scenario for Donald Trump and his polls sink to the mid-teens or something, those Republicans still got to win primaries, right? And the primaries are flooded. They have a disproportionate amount of Trump supporters, and they're never going to leave Trump. They're not going to risk their nomination. TJ, did not expect that. I think Putin wins the long game. All right. Well, see, our politicians care so much about American lives. That's why we don't go to war. That's great, Freddie. Freddie Mac and Bernie Mac. That's a great username. I'm sad I didn't recognize that earlier. That's hilarious. Freddie Mac and Bernie Mac. AI is a problem that will make it hard to change society in a good way. Listen, I don't think we are nearly as terrified about AI as we should be. I think AI is I know I'm all boomer pilled on this over here, but seeing like the damage that you can cause by faking news reports or pictures or images or actions from people, that is, and it's only going to get better as time goes on. And did you see the Republicans put in the one big beautiful bill that they want to prohibit states from putting regulations on AI for 10 years? They said, no, actually, nope. AI is fine the way it is. If they make something, the species destroyer 5000, nope, no regulations, nope, because regulation is bad. That stifles business. Yeah, way to go, Republicans. Do you see China becoming the world's replacement for the United States? Yes, I do. Yes, bet everything you have on that. The Chinese are just a more serious group of people right now. China would never elect someone like Donald Trump. That would never happen. Like they've we are. That's the funny thing about this, that we don't even need to be defeated to give up the number one spot. We're just handing it away. Like we let them beat us with AI, as we talked about, with computer technology. We let them beat us with batteries. I'm not like simping for China here. Now China's like an amazing place. I have been there. It's very nice. But yeah, it's done. Their silver medal is ours for the taking, and we're going to grab it soon enough. Not completely, but I think it's going to be more 50-50. NATO expansionism shouldn't have happened. Is Israel committing genocide? Well, obviously. Marjorie Taylor Greene says she didn't know that was in the bill and stated she wouldn't have voted for it. I saw that. I saw Marjorie Taylor Greene say that. And like that actually, I believe her when she says that on both counts, because these people in Congress, they don't read the bills. They have staffers who brief them. The bills are hundreds of pages. Actually, I don't know how long the one big beautiful bill is. I don't think it is that long, actually. But still, they have people brief them on what it says. So you would think it'd be embarrassing to say that, but I wouldn't read the bills either. I can tell you, if I was in Congress, yeah. So I'll pay someone to do that. You guys tell me what's in it. And I can see how that happens. But it is rather embarrassing when you come out and say, oh, I actually didn't read what I signed or what I voted for. But no one pays any price for it. When's the last time you saw a politician pay a price for saying, I didn't read the bill? They're made fun of for a few days and everyone forgets about it. But I do believe, because the Republicans who put that in the bill saying that government can't regulate AI, state governments, for 10 years, they're probably doing it on behalf of tech billionaires, right? Like that's who else? Because I think if you talk to your average Republican, your average conservative, Republican or otherwise, and said, hey, do you think it's a good idea to regulate AI? I think they'd all say yes, or the majority of them would say yes. So yeah, we should have some guardrails on this because they can see how destructive it is, and because it's technology and it's spooky and it's like magic to them or whatever. So I think that actually would be one. That's a smart move by Greene to say, yeah, I'm not for this, but I do believe her. She's probably too conspiratorial. I get it. Not simping, just facts. Yep. It's over 1,000 pages. Okay, so it is pretty long. All right, yeah, then no, I wouldn't read. They need to pay a price. Look, but they don't, though. Yeah, I mean, this isn't about the world that should exist. It's about the world that does. And the world as we currently know it, no politician has. If you guys know of an example, please tell me. But if you can think of one example where a Republican, or not a Republican, but a politician lost their seat after admitting they voted for a bill they didn't read, I'd love to hear it. Do you, do you believe checks and balances exist? I mean, yeah, to an extent. I mean, like, judicial review isn't like an actual constitutional thing. Judicial review, by the way, is the philosophy of the Supreme Court is the supreme law of the land. What the Supreme Court says goes. That's that's actually not in the Constitution. That's just how it always has been ever since, I think, Marbury versus Madison. What was that, 1803 or something like that? It's kind of like, well, this is just the final road. And I do like it. It does make sense, right? That system, the judge is the final authority on it, uh, as a check and balance. And if you want to change it, change the law. The judge will interpret it that way. But it turns out that if you just ignore them and do what you want, no one's going to stop you. Andrew Jackson did this with when he did the Trail of Tears, I think, when he expelled the Seminoles from Florida. The Supreme Court told him, you can't do that. That's unconstitutional. He's like, all right, Supreme Court made their decision. Let them enforce it. And no one stopped him. And Trump is kind of doing that, in a lot of ways. It's like, yeah, who's going to stop me? And no one is, turns out. Like our entire system of government is just a series of handshakes and backslaps, and we all expect everyone to follow, but every now and then someone doesn't. What are conservatives conserving? That's a good question, because I mean, we're not the first people to point this out, that your modern version of conservatives aren't really conservatives at all. They're regressives. They will tell you to your face. Like, I'm not saying this is a pejorative. It is, but I'm not saying it as one. They want nothing more than to take the country back to this 1840s Jeffersonian agrarian style of existence that couldn't possibly function as a modern society in the world. There's a reason no society like that exists, because it can't. And they like the idea of not paying taxes and every man's home being his castle. And I don't know, it's stupid, but it doesn't stop there, because conservatives want to take the country back to the good old days of the 50s. That's, back when America was strong. And I agree with them in the fact that I want America back to the 50s in our economic policy. Yeah, economic policies in which we had 90% tax rates on our top 90% marginal tax rates on our top earners, where we implemented policies like the GI Bill, Social Security a little bit before that, strong union membership. I think it was in the 30 or 40% back then, which caused competition. Like, one thing you'll hear conservatives say is that when you talk about the minimum wage and how we should raise the minimum wage, and they will respond that, well, you guys know those Nordic countries you try to emulate so much, they don't have a minimum wage. At least I think Sweden doesn't have a minimum wage, and maybe Norway doesn't have one. And that's true. They don't. So these countries are so great. Why not emulate that? All right, fine. Check the union percentage, the union membership percentage in Sweden and Norway. It's like 70% or something. It's astronomical. You wouldn't believe how high it is. And I'll trade that. If we had 50%, 60% union membership, yeah, I'd be fine with getting rid of the minimum wage, because you wouldn't need it, because every employer would have to compete with unions, and that's going to raise wages up. So I'll take that trade. I'll take that deal. But sorry, I got off track there. And conservatives think that the reason the country was great in the 50s was because of the social policies. Basically it's what it is. Like, women weren't as active in the workforce. The women's liberation movement hadn't happened. Women weren't wearing short skirts. There weren't swear words in music. Certain folks knew their place. Yeah, it was hard for them to vote, but they were a lot more quiet, if you know what I mean. They think that's the reason the country was great, not the economic ones. It's completely reading it backwards. So yeah, it's trying to say. In fact, I ask conservatives, like, whenever they always talk about how bad the 60s were. You ever notice this? That they always say that we lost prayer in school in the 60s, and a few folks got it kind of uppity in the 60s, and women went out of their way in the 60s. The 60s is when everything went wrong for conservatives. That's when it's up. But that was also the decade that we had tremendous gains in civil rights, and they don't like that. So yeah, they're not conserving anything. They want to take it back to 70 years ago. Actually, I'm checking. Oh man, I'm losing track over here. Okay. Who we got for guest this month? Was hoping you could bring a social society with Brandon Clark as a guest sometime. No pressure. I think crossover lefty channels are just awesome to me. Zeke, I don't know who that is. Brandon Clark. Maybe I do, but I don't recognize the name. We have Nathan Rio. He'll be joining us this week. Next week, John and I are both off. And I know people the week after that. I'm sure Northwest Georgia will vote blue next election because of that. I remember we were talking about for this. If Stacey was governor, Georgia would have been a better place. Yeah. Okay, wow. You just have the dates of major Supreme Court cases memorized like that. Well, no, not most. I could have been wrong. I could have been wrong on Marbury versus Madison. Hold on, let me look this up here. I said 1803, I think. It's 1803. God damn, I am good. I don't know why I doubted myself. Of course I was right. I'm as usual. Yeah. So you're right, Heather. I do have major Supreme Court dates memorized. TK is just dropping truth bomb to truth bomb. World we have is not the world we want. China being more serious than the United States. Mark versus Matt. 1803. Thank you. Who is this brilliant guy? Why is John holding him back? Mark, that's okay. I take that back. The brain trust of conservatives want to regress. No, they don't. Taylor agreement. Yeah, they do, Mark. Come on, man. You know this. Let's see. Ben said, what did he say? I really think they want the 50s, but that's just my view. Yeah. And then he bragged. He said it before I did. Good job, Ben. And then Alex got the march on tax rate part. Joe says Trump himself stated he wants to go back before the Great Depression. You know what? That's a weird. You know what? I remember right before the election, it was August, July, maybe. Trump was doing all these interviews at black barbershops. And he sat down, and I remember him saying, we had a great president in the 1890s, William McKinley. Almost fell out of my chair. I could not believe Trump knew the name William McKinley. I was stunned. And then he starts talking about the tariffs and how great the tariffs were and how it's the most beautiful word in the English language. It was wild. I was like, man, Trump is pumping out Gilded Age propaganda. That we all learned the Gilded Age was bad, right? But Trump wants to return to that. It's kind of wild. Not serious question. Do you think you could beat Charlie Kirk in a debate? Ugh. You know, the answer is no. Actually, no, I don't think I could. Not because I don't know what I'm talking about, but because Charlie Kirk does not debate in good faith. And there's no point in debating someone like Charlie Kirk. There are some conservatives who I would. Not a lot, though. Oh, thank you for the heart. Not a lot. Because most conservative, not conservative people, like debating regular, everyday, normal people, conservatives is fine. But conservative influencers and content creators, you already know what I'm talking about here. It's not. Rush Limbaugh found out a long time ago that if you want to gain popularity and traction on the right wing, you have got to be as crass and as offensive and as crude as you can. It's going to get eyeballs. And it's gotten worse and worse as time goes on. And Charlie Kirk is actually a great example of this. If you listen to stuff Charlie Kirk was saying, 8 years ago, it was more normal conservative stuff. Martin Luther King's a good indicator of this, that he would always talk about how he did the conservative line that Martin Luther King was a Republican. He wasn't. He wasn't. Don't let anyone tell you this. They always love saying that Martin Luther King was a Republican. He never registered for any political party, Republican or Democrat. But he did say before he died, like the year he died, he said that the Republican Party is in danger of becoming solely the white man's party, and that he saw the pointy hat folks, I got to say that for TikTok or they'll ban me, but the pointy hat folks get married to the Republican Party at the Republican National Convention in 1964. So before King died, he knew exactly which party was the white supremacist party. And but Kirk would say that King was actually a conservative. He would be on our side. These days, he doesn't. Like the last 2 MLK days, he's dedicated it to saying Martin Luther King was actually bad. The Civil Rights Act was a mistake. So you kind of have to do that to be like, think Matt Walsh or something. Like they push the envelope as far as they can in the misogyny and the racism. And Kirk's doing the same thing because he's found out, like Nick Fuentes would call him out on this, saying that he doesn't go far enough. He's like hiding who he is. And maybe he is, maybe he's not. I don't know if Charlie Kirk believes anything he says. I don't think he cares. But Kirk obfuscates and he lies. He doesn't. I don't know. Charlie Kirk is the worst. Tax the rich. Okay. Oh, gee. Like McKinley and shit? Yep. Did McKinley pay lip service to civil rights like his other Civil War vet contemporaries, Ben Harrison, Hayes, Garfield? I have no idea what McKinley's thoughts on civil rights were. I can't think of any statements he made on that. But see, the effective tax rates were less than 90%. So that means we can't raise taxes. Iceland has a 4-day work week, 90% of its workers since 2019. Bunch of slackers over there in Iceland. Come on. You know they believe in elves in Iceland? I saw some stat on this. Let me see. Let me look this up. In 2022, 31% of Icelandic people still believe in elves. 3 out of 10. I bet, you know what? What's the American one for angels? Hold on. Damn. You know what? I can't shit on Iceland. 7 out of 10 Americans believe in angels. So who am I? Who am I to talk about the 30% of Icelanders who believe in elves? I take it back. I never knew that Norway and Sweden didn't have minimum wage. I don't know if it's both of them. It's definitely one. And I also don't know that they had such high union membership. This is interesting. I'm learning so much. That's what I'm here for. Oh, wow. Really good point about conservatives wanting to conserve values from the 50s. I think you're right that they don't realize what they want is conserve economic policies. Yeah, that's I'm annoyed you were right because you're so smug. I am smug, but I've earned it. I've earned the right to be smug. People bring that. They say, oh, teacher, you're kind of arrogant. Yeah, I am. You would be too. There's going to be a fight for the soul of the Republican Party, and we'll start with 2028 nomination. Give me a break. Charlie Kirk is the GOAT. That was very funny. Hilarious stats on angels and elves. Look, is it hilarious or is it depressing? And we've got to outgrow this, folks. I used to debate people about evolution years ago, and a lot of people would say, "Man, why are you doing that? Why are you wasting time? Why do you care if people believe in evolution or creation?" Well, look around you. Look around you. This is why. Like when you start basing your perception of reality on cartoonish nonsense, you're going to believe anything. Honestly, we have to outgrow this. Our dedication to ancient myths, not as like an exercise in contemplation or history or not history, but it's literature or storytelling. Like once you start going beyond there and saying, "Oh no, actually Elijah was real," it's no different than saying Gohan is real. Like the story of Gohan reaching his potential and turning to a Super Saiyan 2, that's a great story. I love it. It means a lot to me. Gohan doesn't need to be a flesh and blood being for that to be real. But if I started basing my actions and my politics on Dragon Ball Z, you would think I was crazy. Yeah, the same thing with Jesus, folks. Like you don't have to do this. When you do a Jubilee debate, Jubilee debates are hilarious, man. I might do a Jubilee debate because it seems funny. Although I think those debates don't help us either. I think the rise of debate bro culture has hurt us, honestly. Things are a lot worse, right? We all thought that, hey, if we just got all these ideas out in the open, some ideas should just be mocked and not taken seriously and broadcast as little as possible. You don't need to give them a platform. An example, I like it when people say they're unbiased. It's like, no, you're not. You are biased. Everyone is. Like, just admit it. Admit what your bias is. The example I always use is that if I start talking about geography, I'm going to be giving my information from an anti-flat earth bias, right? I'm not going to say, yeah, that's what I think about geography, but to be fair, there are people who believe the earth is flat and we're going to give equal time. No, like, some things are just wrong, okay? You don't got to pretend otherwise. And we haven't done ourselves any favors by we're going to have 30 people debate one person on whether we should hunt the homeless for sport. I don't think that's helped out at all. Where's the kitty? Yeah, brought Wolfie out. Take care, Ben, if you're still here. Go on Jubilee for more views. Yeah, I know. Selling out to the machine. Why not? I can't act like I have dignity. I do this, right? My bias, Republican conservatives are destroying our country. 70% of Americans believe in angels. Oh my God, no wonder. Look, shit is bleak. Shit is bleak. Hold on, let me see. Let me find a chart here. Believe in evolution by country. I remember seeing this chart when I was in college. I wonder if it's changed. Because, folks, it's been a long time since I've been in college. Pictures. Oh boy, here we go. Okay. This isn't the best image here. Well, you guys on TikTok won't be able to see it. Sorry. But this is a chart. This is 2006. Oh, this chart's too old. Never mind. Anyway, this is like, I don't know, 20 years ago, but did human beings, as we know, develop from early species of animals? Iceland, it looks like they're up into the 80s, maybe 90% here. The United States, all the way down here, just over 50%. I bet it's actually lower now. I bet it's actually lower, knowing how religious fundamentalism is catching fire. Wolfie's like, that's enough for your cute little hobby. Tuna bitch. Yeah, Wolfie, he probably does want tuna. He's a tuna bitch. He's a very spoiled cat. Have you left TikTok? Did they shadow ban you? Reg, no, I haven't left TikTok. I just haven't done any lately. I just haven't. I don't know. I don't think I've done a real life actual TikTok in probably 2 weeks. And the rest of them are like reposts or clips from the show, But I'm gonna get back on it. I have so many I want to do. The Angels may never win another World Series, but they're real. I like that. What a good observation about not giving a platform to stupid ideas, especially ideas that have already been debunked for hundreds of years. The culture is madness. Listen, I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed. Like, things weren't supposed to be this way. We already tackled the vaccine question. We've already tackled the flatness of the earth. We've conquered so many things, and now they're all being thrown away, and for nothing. It's really sad. I hate it. I hate it so much. 50% is crazy. Yeah. Let me see if I can find a more recent one about evolution. Okay, here's one from 2020. It's better. Here's the United States. Hey, actually, it's getting better, actually. In 2024, it was 64% of Americans who stated human beings evolved over time. So we got better. That's a little bit better. May have dropped in the last 5 years, though. Everything else has gotten worse, right? Who knows? The last 3 Catholic popes believed in evolution. That's the crazy part when we ponder that statistic. That is true. That is true, Adam, that the popes, it was a Catholic scientist who proposed the Big Bang. Catholics are better about this than Protestants are. I know I preach Protestant supremacy because Protestantism makes more sense than Catholicism to me, but I grew up Protestant. But Catholics are smarter. Catholics are smarter because Catholics actually read. Protestants really don't. Okay, well, that's about time, folks. About time for the end of the show. Look, you guys have been great. This is my first outing doing the show by myself without John, and wish him well. He should be back on Thursday. We will be joined by Nathan Rio. Always great to have him on the show. You guys, please join us at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. We will catch you then. And you're welcome, Zeke. We're always here for you. You guys have a great one.